Hi, my name is Celso, and today I want to show you my favorite workflow for hand-painted textures in Blender. This is my latest character. I call him the Writer. I don't have a name for him yet. Let me just get out of the camera view here so we can navigate around here a little bit better. So I have some cross-hatching going on there, like that's a shader thing, and a little bit of an line work. And the shader also has built in these rim lights. But if we remove, let me get his face here. If we remove the hand painted textures, it gets really flat. So let's take a look here. So this is the same shader, but without the hand painted textures. And you can tell that the shader is doing like a great job with the rim lights and with the crosshatch, but I haven't done anything with the shaders to give the character some volume. And I want to be able to control the volume by using the textures. So this is my actual look that I'm going for now, and this is the character with only the painted, so no shadows, no crosshatch, no highlights, just the painted textures. I quite like it looking like this, and I might tone it down, the cross-hatching, a little bit after like for the final. It might be it's gonna be camera dependent, right? So right now it's not. So like for a shot like this, I find the cross-hatching to be quite nice, but if I get any closer, it's a little too much, right? So I gotta go into my actual shader and change. I think I had like 200 for some. Yeah, so I don't want the cross hatching to be moving within the shot, so I have to kind of change as I go. Now I might find an automatic way of doing camera based, or just change shot by shot. It's not a big deal, right? I can animate the value too. Just one more thing I want to show you before we get to the painting is how it looks with just a principal BSDF shader, right? Like nothing fancy going on there. I only had I only added a color ramp in front, so it's grayscale, because I'm doing some trickery with the light colors to isolate highlights and things like that. And so if I just plug straight up, it's gonna be like all colorful, and that's not very helpful to see. So a BSDF shader by itself would look like this. So this is how the character looks without any shader, just the painted textures. And looking at it again, I quite like it, so I might revisit the shader too. I want to show you how I got this. This character is black and white because of the story, the way I want to present that story and the style. I might try in color, going over the process in color, just because I think it's going to be beneficial to more people. And I also want to see how he looks in color, because I might change my mind about the whole black and white thing if I really like. For this demo, I started a new file with just the head for simplicity's sake. So let's take a look before I start painting into different things. First, I want to show you the topology. This might be the lowest polygon character I've made in years, and I'm relying heavily on the creases for subdivision. And you don't need to do that. That's a style choice, because I'm not a good rigger, and I'm going to be making the blend shapes and the rig for this character. So I thought of keeping as low poly as possible might make my process a little bit easier for the rigging aspect. And to be honest, because of the painterly look, I don't want to be adding too much geometry information on places that I don't need, because I want those to be painted instead of displaced, right? So I'm quite happy with the result of using the creases. So let's look at the modifiers. I have two subdivision modifiers here. Only one is active. The reason why I have two is I want this one, so this is with no subdivision, kind of wonky. 2 levels of subdivision. So let me turn on my wireframe and turn off the optimal display. So this is a pretty decent amount, right? The reason why I added 2 modifiers is the second one doesn't have the use creases option, so it softens the creases a little bit. So let's turn that one on as well. And if I take off the optimal display, it gets pretty heavy, but Blender is pretty capable. And this, I'm only gonna be running this one on render time, so it's not gonna affect me much. And if I turn off, you see like it gives it some better roundness to the corners that are overly sharp because of the creases and the first subdivision modifier. And the other thing I want to show you is, of course, you need some UVs on this. My UVs are all on the top here because I had a single UDIM for his entire body, and before I deleted the body, I had the legs and arms and torso in this empty area here. To make it easier for me to start painting, I like to bake some lighting in. The catch is I don't want any heavy shadows or highlights to be baked. I just want a soft ambient light so I can bake the volume, because my shader is pretty flat, but it does contain shadows and highlights. So I don't want the shadows from my model, the painted textures, to be fighting the actual shadows from the lighting in the scene. So I want to start with a very soft lighting, a little bit of ambient occlusion, just to capture the corners and capture the creases and the overall volume as a good starting point. This is just a shot of the modifier stack, because I just realized my stupid face was in front of it when I was talking about it. Alright, so the lighting. First things, let's go into render view. It's on Eevee by default, so let me change this to cycles. It's on CPU, let me change it to GPU because it's a bit faster. In my case, right, that depends on your machine. I don't need that many samples, so I'm gonna first lower the viewport 1 to something like really low, like 128, and maybe 512 for the max samples on the render, because we're gonna be painting over anyways. I don't want to like maximum resolution, you know, like just being faster is better. And in this case, I'm just gonna use lights. You can use a HDRI if you prefer. So let me start with top-down light, area light. So just bring it up here. This is already doing a lot of what I want. I'm gonna move it forward and rotate just a little. And the shadows on the area light are really soft by default. You can sharpen them by reducing the spreads if you're using cycles. So if I do a spread of, let's do 10 degrees, they get really sharp. That's not what I'm looking for, so let's go with let's say 80, like 50, a little bit too sharp still, so 100. That's getting more into the territory of what I'm looking for. So we got the back here a little bit too dark, and the shadows also are a little bit too dark. This at this point, maybe an HDRI wouldn't be a bad idea, or you can duplicate the light and just reduce the intensity. So I have that 10, let's say 1, and then you can kind of position extra lights as you want. And a final one a little bit from below. Further away too. And just to kill a little bit of the neck shadow that was too intense. So this one, let's do 1. Because I don't want to fully remove it, and I also don't want to remove the cheeks. There. Okay, this is pretty much what I wanted in terms of lighting. So let's jump into the shader now. So right now I have just a principal BSDF, just a brand new shader there. I'm gonna add some color, like very light orange, some type of skin color here. And I'm also gonna add subsurface. I went too far. And random walk, I'm gonna change to random walk skin, just to get a little bit better results there. And I think that's as far as I'm gonna change the shader. Just adjust the specular, the roughness. So fully roughness gives me like less highlights. Halfway through, like 40-50% roughness is giving me a good result as well. 70%, so 7. I think this is what I like the most when looking here. Before I go any further, I'm just gonna add a little bit more occlusion with so Shift A, search, ambient occlusion. It's right there. I'm gonna color pick my skin color that I had there. Change the sample size to 32. Let me disconnect to see the difference. So for me to better control this, I'm just gonna go back to white here. 1, 1, 1. And instead of adding the color to here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plug this in here, Shift A, and I'm gonna bring a color ramp position in the middle here. And the white here, I'm gonna change to the skin color that I had before. And now I can control the occlusion with the color ramp. You see, like this would be the extreme. And I can also add a different color to the occlusion itself. So if I want a little bit stronger than what was giving me, but I want to, let's say, dark red instead. So that would give me something like that. I can also clamp the other way to get finer lines on the occlusion. And if you want to see what the occlusion is doing without the shader, just Ctrl Shift and click here. And that's what I'm getting. I think this amount of occlusion is good. Maybe too intense, right? Like this. Okay, I'm happy with this. So I'm just gonna Ctrl Shift and click on the Principal BSDF. By the way, I think you need the Node Wrangler available, turned on, Node Wrangler on the add-ons in order to be able to do the Ctrl Shift click here. And not really happy with the white on the ears there. I think the random walk is giving me a better result than the random walk skin. I never tried this Kristen Burley here. It gave me less green on the thin areas than random walk was giving. So I'm gonna use this one instead, because I already like the result quite a lot. Okay, so this is perfect for me to bake. So let's just go ahead and go through the baking settings. Before you bake anything, you need a texture for you to bake into. So let me create that. On the node editor here, Shift A, search, image texture, new. Let's do 4K, so 496. I don't need alpha for this one. And the color, I'm gonna pick my skin color here as the base for no particular reason, just because I need to pick a color. Generate type blank. I don't need 32-bit. I don't need tiled for this. If you had UDIMs, you click the tiled. So new image, sRGB, everything's correct here. With that selected, I'm gonna go here to the render options again and going down to bake. I don't have a multi-res and I'm not baking normal, so I don't need that. Combine is what I need. Everything here looks fine. So very simple, right? Like just gonna press render now. Let me just check one thing first on the. Just want to see if all my lights are visible there. Everything's okay. Okay, so let me do a test bake. Before I do that, I'm just gonna change tabs here from my my shading one to my texture painting one. And even before I bake, I like to do this. Let's do an image, save as. So back here to my render tab, bake, and let's see what it gives us. So 3%, it's gonna take a minute or two. Control space, you get like maximize the viewport of whatever thing you wanna maximize. The studio doesn't give me what I'm looking for, so I'm gonna change from studio to flat here. And mine was already on texture. If yours is not, I think for the texture painting tab is always on texture there, but if you are on another tab and you're not seeing your texture, just change to texture. And if you're still not seeing, just make sure that texture is selected on the material. One thing I always get when I bake in Blender is I get a little bit of a pixel line on my seams. Maybe there's a way of fixing it, I don't know, but this doesn't bother me for what I'm about to do. And my workflow is really, really simple. So when you get, like this is the hard part. Actually, before I go any further here, just gonna have the image always selected here, and Alt S on this screen or clicking on save here, it's gonna save the baked image on top of the image that we saved earlier. And before I start painting, I'm gonna turn off this subdivision and bring this one down to 1, because the heavier the mesh, the heavier it is to paint. So if anyone knows how to get rid of those seam lines, let me know. I would appreciate it, not having those. But again, it doesn't bother me as much for this specific case, just because I'm gonna be painting on top anyways. So Control Tab, Texture Paint. Oh, I'm using 4.2, Blender 4.2. And the main reason why is because on Blender 4.2, if you press the color picker hotkey is S. So you see my color is changing on the color that, so I can color pick from the screen and just keep painting. I don't know what that hotkey is on Blender 4.3. I tried with S, didn't work. So I just gave up and went back to the 4.2 because I know that works. but please, if you know, because I googled, I tried a bunch of things and then I gave up. So now I pretty much just color pick and flatten some areas and trying to emphasize the chain plan chain trying to emphasize any planar change, like the cheeks is the best example here, and the nose has some good ones as well. Right now I'm using just the round brush, whatever brush comes with Blender here. I do have a brush pack that I purchased, or I can't remember if I purchased or if I'm using the free version. I'm pretty sure I purchased, but actually let me share it with you. So this is the brush pack that I got. I downloaded from Flip Normals. It cost like $5, and it's pretty decent, way better than the brushes that come with Blender. And you don't need to get this, you can make the brushes yourself, but I didn't want to waste time doing that, so I just downloaded this one. Craft Reaper is his YouTube name, and he does have a few sample brushes on his YouTube channel that you can download for free. But I would recommend supporting the guy because his brushes are great and saves you the time from making it yourself. I load up his brushes by appending from the Blender file, and I just start painting. It's pretty straightforward. I use E on the keyboard to color pick, and I try to always color pick from an area close to where I'm painting, because if you color pick from an area that was in light during the bake process and you paint on an area that was in shadow, it might look at first like the colors are not too different, but when you start painting, it looks a lot brighter or a lot darker depending on which way you're going. And that's pretty much it. My method is pretty simple. I just keep painting over and over and trying to cover the entire model with this. I'm gonna do a solid pass only focusing on light and shadow, color picking from light and shadow, and then I come back later with some blend modes to add some more hue and saturation variations where it's needed. So let's speed this up, and I catch you at the end when I start doing the things a little bit different. So now that I have a base layer, I'm gonna go back with some blending modes. You can actually use those modes, same as Photoshop here, to achieve that. Even color dodge is a really good one for highlights and things like that. So let's do a hue change here. And let me just see how it looks. So do 100% strength. So if I do anywhere I paint now, it's coming towards the hue of the red. So, but it's not modifying the. Let me see if the overlay how it looks. Yeah, saturation. color. Okay, I think so I was looking for a very weak effect one, because I just want to do a little bit of almost airbrushing. I'm still using that texture brush that I had on, but I just want to like bring some red to the nose and cheeks, you know, like that thing that I'm totally overdoing here, but just to illustrate the point. Let's say if you want to do more, like change more towards yellow on some other area like the forehead. And again, I'm totally overdoing here. And let's bring some blues into his 5 o'clock shadow area here. And again, completely overdone. I hate it. But just to show the point, right? Like, so I'm actually gonna undo everything I just did and do it again more subtle. I'm gonna start with the 5 o'clock shadow because I already have the color selected. Okay, way more subtle. And I'm gonna paint over this anyways, right? Like this is just... So I'm gonna color pick from that area. And I will change the color there slightly, just so I don't go overboard with the red. The red is the easiest one for me to overdo it, because it's very close to the skin tones that we have there already. And the yellow, to be honest, I usually don't do the yellow. Pick again there. Very small shifts there. And the reason why they say there's more yellow on the forehead is because there's less blood vessels going through in comparison to the cheeks and other areas. So there's less blood and a little bit more actual skin color. And on Caucasian people, that's yellow. Or whites or whatever, right? So, that looks horrible. And I like to go with the brush way bigger than it should and going very lightly with the pen pressure. So, and again, I overdid with the reds, but that's okay. I can just now I can go back and do a normal painting here, like just with the so this is a good tip too. If I'm trying to blend those two areas and the color difference is too big, if I color pick from here and try to paint here, it's usually too strong. So what I do is I go very lightly, like pretty much how I already did there, right? Like very light, and then I color pick from that, and then I do it again, and then I color pick from that, and that gets me closer to the area that I'm trying to blend in, and then I do that again and again and again. Until it looks more acceptable. And if I can always go to my smear brush there and actually like too much, right? Let's drop the strength and try again. Okay, that's a lot better. And yeah, I'm gonna smear this. Oof. I'm sorry, went back to my... Actually, do we have any? No. And to close it up, I think this looks good enough for, because I'm not gonna use this for anything. It looks good enough for thumbnail. So let's just do a color dodge to finish this up. So instead of mix, where is it? Oh, I'm on the wrong mode there. Okay, brush, mix, color dodge. I'm gonna color pick from, let's do from the cheeks because that's the most red part. And I'm gonna do on the ears here. It really screams, right? Like, so strength has to be like very subtle. Let's do on the forehead a little bit. Here's bringing more towards white because already so much brighter. On the nose here looks kind of decent. And yeah, not the best, but shows you the process, right? Brighten the lips a little with this. So this is good, right? Like, just I like to use those blending modes to get me a color, right? Like, this is way too much, but if I do a little bit, I actually kind of like the color that it is there now, so I can just go back to mix and color pick from that color that I just laid. Yeah, I hope you learned something today, and I hope you had some answers for me too, because I had a couple questions. So yeah, see you next time.